Welcome back to the Who's Right podcast, and we're coming to you a little early today, but it's all good because Mets don't play till late tonight because they're in the West Coast. But y'all, lots been happening. We got to get into it. Remember, subscribe to the channel, like the video, leave us your comments, let us know what you're feeling, what you're thinking, and Victor, how you doing?
I'm doing all right, man. I was feeling good. We had a good series against the Twins, but somehow, some way, we're still out of the playoff picture. And I'm one of those guys that is going to look at that playoff picture every day, and I know that's not going to be healthy for me because it's going to be a race to the very end. We got teams like the Padres, the Diamondbacks, the Braves. We seem to wake Matt Olson up, which is so frustrating. But we're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about the Mets and how great a baseball they've been playing and how good they turned out in this trade deadline.
Yeah, they didn't do too bad. You want to hit that first, or you want to hit the series first?
Let's talk about the series. We'll get to the trade deadline
No.
in a little
All
bit.
right, all right. So let's start on Monday. On Monday, obviously, we had a good day. We blew the doors open with the 15-2 win, um, and Quintana was dealing. He had his curveball going, and the Twins had no answer. And then everybody contributed. We saw um, um, Quintana just shut down their batters, and we had a stress-free win.
Yeah, absolutely. Quintana is looking like the opening day starter of that we put out there. This his past six starts. He has a ERA, I think, either around one or under one, and that's a ridiculous stat for Quintana to put up this late in his career. He's putting up Bartolo numbers when he was um, uh, in his last season with the Mets, and so we'd love to see these old guys continuing to contribute to this future of this team, and some young guys. Jose Budo pitched the last three innings of this one and get to record his 3 inning save, and he looked good. He gave up that one home run, almost gave up another one where Tyrone Taylor robbed a home run, and he played spectacular defense this whole series. But Jose Budo being stretched out a little bit, which I think is pretty interesting after the moves that we made in the trade deadline. Maybe it was hindsight. Maybe we were trying to look too much into it. I hope he stays in the bullpen. All I know is that he looked good pitching, and I wouldn't mind him seeing in any role that they put him in.
Yeah, no, for sure. I actually think before all the trades came down, they might have been thinking about putting him back in the rotation if they didn't get Blackburn, and because unfortunately, McGill, we can't trust McGill too much, unfortunately. And we had to go outside the organization to get a little bit of depth in the rotation and someone that's going to be consistent. Unfortunately, with uh, with McGill, yeah, he wasn't consistent, and that's where I think they wanted to keep Budo stretched out because they wanted some insurance in case they didn't, because I think they were going to send down McGill anyways on this weekend. So I think that's what happened there. I could be wrong, but they're saying that they just want to keep them stretched out just in case, or who knows? Maybe the thought is they're eventually going to go to a six-man rotation. I mean, we're going to get into it, but Sebi, we might need to protect Sebi. But we'll get to Sebi in a second. Let's jump into game two. Game two, Manaya kind of copied what what Quintana was doing in the first game, and he was dealing. And the crazy part is the Twins came into the series, as a team that could hit breaking balls, and both Quintana and Manaya kind of killed them with breaking balls.
Yeah, no, I'd love to see it. He started off a little shaky. He was trying to get his rhythm in, trying to figure these hitters out, and that's how he's been pitching these past couple of starts. He's been trying to figure the box out. He's been trying to figure out what these pitchers or batters are swinging at. But I think the most important thing is that he's starting to throw strikes. He gave up one walk in this one, and that was to the stud Royce Lewis, and he was up 0-2 on him. He had him dead in the water, and he just couldn't put him away. But he was throwing strikes, and that's what he said in his post game press conference. Is that that's what he's doing so well. He was throwing the strikes and he was locating something that we'd love to see, especially with the way that we started off the season, where a lot of these guys were giving up 5 or 6 walks a game. To get that walk rate down to one, it's a beautiful thing. And getting 11 strikeouts while doing it. Manaea is not known as a strikeout pitcher, but he sure looked like it in this one, locating and stuff. I think Torrens did a great job calling the game because he's the best backup catcher in baseball. It seems like with the way that he contributes on the field, defensively and offensively. He didn't have a hit in this one. We only had our lone contributors from JD Martinez driving in a run that was kind of a fluke run where we had Vesta balk and then wild pitch so that JD can drive in that run, and then Mark Vientos, hitting another home run again. Man, we just love Mark Vientos. We should have been here this whole season. Imagine what his numbers could have been. He would have been up to 30 home runs already. I think that's almost for certain if he had as many at bats. And he's just a revelation for this Mets team that is pushing for a playoff spot.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think as far as OPS, he's up there with Rafael Devers and he's contributed in a big way. And you're right. Our offense. Where would our offense be without Mark Vientos? And it's one of those things where Manaea is it's a recurring theme. I think this whole year, every time he has a good outing, he comes out saying, "I was throwing strikes." And so it's a reoccurring theme and something that keeps you know I mean that's the problem with McGill, right? He's not throwing strikes and he's walking guys, and so that's the key, guys. This to stay in the rotation is to throw strikes. It's that simple. Before we get into our third game, a big shout out to Yuki, who's in the joining us, and what's going on, Yuki? But
Yeah,
yeah,
and I want to just ask Yuki this question and all of our listeners as we're getting into this third game. Now that we have these two pitchers that we've just talked about and are going to talk about Sevi, who is our playoff rotation? Seeing how we have things now, Senga might not be back. Quintana and Manaea look like they're pushing Sevi out of the playoff rotation, and who knows? Maybe that could be the case down the stretch. But I'd love to hear your thoughts, Yuki. Whoever can chime in the chat. Who do we have as a great playoff rotation right now, heading into the stretch of this late in the season?
well, let's not get too far ahead of ourselves with that. One, they're not going to be pushing Sevi out the way, and two, let's get to the playoffs first. So, at the end of the day, let's get into Game Three. We had another home run by Vientos, and but Sevi didn't have it, and the talk is. With Sevi, he's not thrown these many innings in a while, and so the question is, kind of like what I framed earlier with the Budo talk. Are they gearing up to put a 6-man rotation to protect Sevi? Because he might need those extra days of rest to stay healthy this year. I don't know. I'm hoping that this was just a blip and it has nothing to do with him being tired. And because he's had these games before, and I think we've talked about it and brought up these same questions the last time he had one of these outings. And so the question is, are they keeping Budo stretched out to potentially go into, especially in this stretch, this month we barely have any days off. So are they stretching them out to keep them in to maybe have a temporary six-man rotation at least for this month?
I think it's worth at least considering, especially when you got a guy like Manaya who's coming off of a season where he didn't pitch out of the starting rotation. He was pitching out of the bullpen, and so he doesn't have as many innings. You got an old guy Quintana trying to stay healthy as much as he can. He's a veteran, so he loves pitching every fifth day. But I think it would surely benefit him as well. And then a lot of these other guys, it's just difficult because you have these five and dive pitchers like Peterson, and hopefully Blackburn is a little better than that. Hopefully he can give us some quality starts here and there. But I think it's all kind of up in the air right now with the quality of pitchers that we have. It was a lot easier to say we can go to a six man when we had guys like Senga and Christian Scott because we knew that we were getting a quality start at least every other time they're out there. And now it's a little bit more up in the air, but um, it seems like it could be beneficial to at least um, uh, Severino because right now it looks like he's running on fumes. He's already passed the 100 innings mark, and ever since that, he's not been pitching well. That the innings limit kind of thing, or we just need to stop pitching him in day games because I think it seems like every time he's out there during a day game, he's just exhausted and he's not locating his stuff. And I don't know if it was one of those things where he was pitching great in the first inning, and then when Byron Buxton hit that home run off him, all things kind of fell apart. And so maybe he just got flustered and wasn't able to recover after that. Um, Severino's a big league pitcher. I think he can adjust from those kinds of things. And so my thought is that he needs to get more reps. He needs to go to that six-man rotation.
Well, it just seems like the Mets in general don't like day games. We've seen a couple duds um, during the day games where they come out flat. They come out like they're ready to get out of town. That was the case in the game we went to in Washington, where they came out and just they wanted to get out of town. They came out lifeless, and but in general, because they didn't come out lifeless today. Lindor almost had a home run in this game, and so they they came out hitting this game, but Twins made some good defense, and at the end of the day, Twins are a good team, and they didn't want to get swept, and so that's what I believe happened, that they didn't want to get swept, and they came out with a little pride and took the game. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they're in just as much of a playoff race as we are, trying to catch those Cleveland Guardians, which seems like it's kind of out of the picture at this point. They're fighting for a wild card spot. The race isn't as deep as the NL right now, but they're still fighting for a spot. Something else that happened in this game was Brandon Nimmo got hit in the foot by one of his foul balls. Everything turned out okay with that. So that's great that he was okay, but I'm glad that they took him out of the game just to be safe on, especially in a game where it seemed like it was out of hand. Um, and we almost kind of fought back in this one in that ninth inning. It looked like we were trying to have some life, and that's what I love about this team. They never give up, they never say die, and they were fighting to the very end. But we got to see a couple of our new pitchers in this one as well. Brasaban was throwing 99 on the gun. He's looking electric out there. McGill, I don't know. He was pitching in the bullpen. I don't know if I want to see him there as often. He was not looking, great. He was looking like McGill, and so I don't know if we need a McGill in the bullpen, especially if we have Budo staying there. But if Budo goes, then that might be a piece to consider, especially since we don't have Hauser, And but he wasn't his you the things you would expect from McGill moving to the bullpen is his velocity going up and him having more sharper stuff. But it didn't seem that way. It seemed like just classical McGill pitching out of the bullpen.
Yeah, no, and the roster move already is McGill's going down to make room for Blackburn. Let's get into the trade discussion because we're going to see Blackburn today. He's going to pitch in Anaheim. But the biggest move that we did, we got Blackburn, Brazaban, Zuber, who we sent straight to down to the minors. And include Winker, Maton, and Stanek in that whole mix. I think the Mets did well. They didn't mortgage any future. Um, who knows what they're going to do in the offseason. I don't think that all of our prospects are going to stay in the organization in the offseason. But for now, we didn't pay those high prices that we saw. A team like the Padres give up basically their whole farm for some rental pieces, and I like what the Mets did. Winker wasn't a guy that I was eyeing because I didn't know if he could play the field anymore, but he looks fine out there. And he's contributing already, and I'm happy with that. And the Blackburn, he's a guy that he's been closer to a five and dive guy, but he's a guy that you know has potential. I know I was listening to the Shea Station podcast the other day, and they were talking about that a couple tweaks, and he might have another level. He might be closer to maybe a number three, number instead of back rotation, middle rotation piece if we can work some things out. It's one of those things that maybe when we get him over here, I know he has a six pitch mix in his arsenal, but they were talking about something about maybe cutting a couple of those pitches out and focusing on his better pitches. So who knows? Once he gets over here, maybe we see a better version of Blackburn.
Yeah, Yuki, I hate staying up past midnight to watch these West Coast games, and I hate that we have to do that to watch this Blackburn debut. But I like what you're saying here. I know that he is has been playing in Oakland his whole life. He's had that kind of I don't want to say loser franchise, but they have kind of like a losing mentality over there. They haven't been competing for quite a while, and so he hasn't been able to be a part of a playoff race, right? And I think that provides a little bit of more of a spark. We saw this with Brasaban just a couple of days ago, where he was pitching with more intensity than he was pitching in Miami because he was able to know that he's in a playoff race and he's competing now. And I think we can see the same thing with Blackburn. I think he can touch it up a notch. He was a former first round pick, former All Star, and he's able to have some nasty stuff. I think the high upside is that we can see him pitch like Sean Manaea did the other day, because they have that breaking stuff that is kind of similar, and he's able to strike or get guys to swing and miss. I think that's the most important part. He's got soft contact stuff where most of the stuff will be on the ground. I don't think we'll see um, as many strikeouts as we did from Sean the other day. But I think it's an exciting arm to add to our rotation because he's got so much stuff. And hopefully he can get in this pitching lab and tweak some things. He'll be here next year, which I think is the most important part, is that a lot of our pickups, acquisitions, minus Winker, will be here past for the 2025 season. And that's great. That's what David Stearns, I think, was hoping for in this trade deadline, was to get guys that were controllable. Brazaban being 5 years, having 5 years of control. Blackburn having another year of control after this. I think Stanek has another year of control. And Maton, I'm not sure about Maton. We'll have to look up his contract. But it seems like Jesse Winker might be the only guy out. And we have plenty of bats that are ready to come up in that system to replace a guy like him next year. And so I love what David Stearns was able to do. I think something that was interesting was that even though a lot of these teams gave up their top prospects, we didn't see I don't think we saw any top 100 prospects go, and that's something that the Mets are kind of high on. You know, they have four guys in the system that are top 100, and they didn't want to see any of those guys go. And that's more to say, great job on Billy Epler being able to build up a lot of that last year and at that trade deadline. But also great job on David Stearns knowing what he has in that system and not wanting to let that go. If the best we're giving up is a Blackburn replacement that's building up in the system, then I'm completely fine with that. But I'm excited to see what he's able to do, and what we're able to do as a team with these new acquisitions. It's going to be interesting to see how this bullpen's constructed down the stretch with guys like Danny Young, Ottavino still being in the bullpen. Maybe they get worked out of a job, even though they've looked decent in these past couple of starts. So it'll be interesting. But I love this is the David Stearns philosophy: putting guys out there, throwing things at the wall, and seeing if they stick. Let's just hope they stick this time.
Yeah, no, for sure. And you touched on the bullpen. By the way, Yuki, I will be staying up to watch this Blackburn start. The bullpen is going to be interesting in next couple weeks because guys are making their way are on their way back. You know, SRF is probably going to join us in the next week or so. Garrett is going to be going out on a rehab start, and Nunez should be coming back soon. And so, our bullpen might look completely different at the end of August. The question is Ottavino going to still be in this bullpen at the end of August? Because I think these are the signs that his days might be numbered in this bullpen because one, he's not signed past this year. Two, he's not had a good year, and he started off as the eighth inning guy, and he's at the point where he's barely in the games now, and so this might be the end for Ottavino in the Mets bullpen, and so I'm excited to see what's gonna look like, because if we get Garrett back to the way he was in April and May, and SRF back to back to his norm, and this bullpen might be pretty tough. And then to not forget Daniel Nunez, and this bullpen is going to look completely different from what it started in the beginning of the year, and it's good to see because for the last few years we've been dealing with bullpens that were driving us nuts, and so it's one of those things where it's exciting times, and you could see us going anywhere, going up from here, starting in June, end of May, on that win streak, and I'm excited, for this playoff push. But let's preview this thing before we get started. But go ahead.
Yeah, yeah. No, I just wanted to say that's what David Stearns kind of hinted at, right? He was in his post trade deadline press conference, kind of said that this bullpen is going to look a lot different once they get all the guys healthy, and a lot of the moves that he made seemed like they were moves to kind of sustain their bullpen until these guys are healthy. And so SRF, Nunez, Garrett, all coming back, I think is what he is hinting at as that playoff bullpen that we're going to have going into it. Because we've had a lot of injuries this year. Not to name the guys that aren't coming back this year, like a Rayleigh and Drew, right? And so I can't remember Drew Smith. I couldn't remember his last name for a second, but those guys are not coming back. But the guys that are coming back are going to be such impact pieces in this bullpen, and so it'll be a good mix of the guys that we acquired, in like a Brazoban and a Maton, and then guys that are less controllable or more controllable. They'll probably be sent down like a Danny Young unless they continue to break out like Daniel Nunez did. But Ottavino, I think that's the bullpen arm to look out for because we've seen Stearns have the cojones to just DFA guys when they're not producing. We saw that happen with Jake Diekman. We've seen that happen with Adrian Hauser, which was crazy for me to see. But he has the cojones to do something like that, and I think that if he doesn't produce in these next couple of games, he's going to get a couple of opportunities to do so once these guys come back. I think that might be the end of Ottavino, which is going to be a bitter end to his Mets career and his New York career.
Yeah, no, for sure, for sure. But he'll land on his feet. He's been on SNY, so I imagine he'll that's where he'll end up for the rest of the season if he does get DFA'd. But yeah, let's get into to preview the next series. So today, like I said, we're Blackburn is pitching. And the guy that we thought we weren't going to see is Tyler Anderson, and because we thought he was going to get traded.
What are the
Uh,
A's doing, man? Why didn't they trade anybody? They traded like two guys. What are they doing?
yeah, no, the Angels, Artie Moreno. That's all I can say because he probably had a hand in that. But you know, it's we're gonna see Tyler Anderson, but I still think we can come out on top on there, and then the we're gonna have the slew of lefties. We have three lefties in a row, but not in this series. But Peterson's gonna go on Saturday, and he's gonna go against Soriano, and then on Sunday we got Quintana and Canning. But what I was talking about is Peterson, Quintana, and Manaya, three lefties in a row, which is a little unusual. But I I still believe in this series. Um, I mean, we should sweep the series. I don't want to say it like that, but I'll be conservative and take 2 out of 3 in the series. Just keep winning series and keep the momentum going.
Yeah, the Mets haven't lost a series since that Astros series back in June, and so they're on a bit of a heater. If it doesn't look like it, they still haven't lost a series. Going back to 2022 vibes when it took us 2 months to start to lose a series, but let's hope that we can continue that going. I know the last time we said we should have swept the series, we ended up splitting, or we ended up. It was with the Marlins. We didn't get the job done, and we came out of that looking like kind of dumb. So I'm not going to say we should sweep this series. We just got to keep winning. We just got to keep winning baseball games. Take it day by day. Like I said, that wild card race is tight, and so we have to win every baseball game. Ron said every baseball game is important, and he meant that. This first game here tonight is going to be the tough one. Tyler Anderson is not a bad pitcher. He's had a good season, but I think the thing that he's lacked a lot of this year is the run support. And I think a lot of us didn't forgot that Mike Trout was on this team, and I think the A's are going to be playing a little more, hopefully depressed because they just found out that Mike Trout is done for the year with his knee tear. But I don't think that's going to affect it too much because they just are a bad baseball team. They play baseball. They have a lot of these old veterans on their team, and so we'll get to see Kevin Pillar again. It'll be great to see Kevin Pillar again in this. The Mike Trout's on the Angels here, right? So yeah. Anyway, we're not talking about Mike Trout. He's not. We're not going to see him in this series, but they're just still a struggling baseball team. It'll be great to see Ron Washington again. Hopefully, we get to beat up on him a little more and just continue to carry that rivalry. I'm sure he still has some bias against the Mets. We've seen that with the way that he's treated Luis Guillorme. I want some revenge. I want them to beat the Ron Washington Angels because of how they've treated my boy Luis Guillorme. I'm going a little crazy right now, but I want to win baseball games. I'm tired of not winning the series that we should and not sweeping the series that we should be sweeping. And so let's see Blackburn tonight. He's going to get it all started. And then, like you mentioned, we have three lefties in a row after that, where we play the Cardinals in that one game. We're probably not going to cover that game, but um, this is Yuki's playoff rotation, so it'd be a nice hint to the playoffs maybe if we see Peterson, Quintana, and Manaea pitching 3 days in a row, and see how we do. If we can win all those games, then I think that'd be a great picture into what the playoffs would look like, because those are all decent pitchers that I think could have a case in pitching in the playoffs.
Yeah, no, for sure, absolutely. You know, I'm excited for this series. I don't like that it's in the West Coast, kind of like Yuki mentioning that being these late games, but nothing you can do about it. But it seems like we're in the West Coast a lot this month, and so I'm not liking that too much. But let's get into it. Who's I'll let you go first. Who's your Mets player of the series?
I'm gonna go with our boy. I think he's on a heater right now. I think he's gonna continue to mash and hit home runs. Mark Vientos. I think he's gonna. He hit 2 home runs in 2 games. And so not to say that he can keep that pace, but I think that he can get back up there and continue to mash. And so love to see Mark Vientos hit a couple of home runs in this series.
Yeah, no, that's not a bad pick. That's a good pick. He's been mashing, and like you said, who knows where his home run total would be if he was here all year. And he's held his own, and it looks like he's here to stay. And so that's a good pick by you. But I'm gonna go chalk. You know, there's nothing to it. I'm gonna go with the captain, um, Francisco Lindor. I was thinking of potentially going the other Francisco with Alvarez and see pick him just so he can finally break out. But I'm gonna keep it chalk and go with Francisco Lindor.
Yeah, Lindor has been great. He's on a little bit of a slump right now, along with Brandon Nimmo and Pete Alonso is starting to break out a little bit. So let's hope that he can get that home run total up because right now he's falling way behind on the league lead. But Francisco Lindor, love to see him wake up back into that MVP form.
Yeah, no, for sure, absolutely. And my pitching standout, is going to be um, I'm gonna go with Blackburn tonight. I think he's gonna be excited that he's on a new team. I know he didn't have a good outing against the Angels. The last team he pitched against was the Angels, and he didn't have a good outing. But I think this new burst of energy of being on the team, being in the playoff race, I think is gonna give him energize him. So my guy's gonna be Blackburn.
Yeah, it's a great pick. I'm excited to see his debut tonight. And he could have a quality start. That's what we're expecting when we picked up Blackburn. But I'm going to go with a guy that didn't come off of a good start, and I think is coming back for a little bit of revenge, and that's David Peterson. David Peterson didn't pitch well his last start, and I think that it's affected him a little bit. Maybe he had a little bit of pressure on him, knowing the trade deadline is coming up and that the Mets make some moves. And so I think now that the pressure's off, he'll brush that first loss of the season off as well, and he'll come back and pitch gem in this Saturday late night game.
Yeah, no, and that's a good observation by you. You know that Peterson might have been. I don't know if you saw all the clippings and stuff like that with Peterson's handshaking and stuff like that. He might have felt some extra pressure. Thinking that not necessarily that he was going to be traded, but that he was losing his starting job. And if we would have gotten another pitcher, he might have. But he might have felt that pressure that day, and hopefully he relaxes and knows that he's here to stay, and does have a good outing for us.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And so I'll go into my next Mets killer standout here. very quickly, just shout out Yuki putting in his picks in the chat. And if you guys have some picks, make sure to throw them in the live chat. We'll shout you guys out or throw them in the comments. And I would love to hear your thoughts. But Yuki's going with McNeil as being the Mets hitter, and McNeil has been on a heater as of late. He's extra hit machine, the flying squirrel, as we like to call him on this podcast. And so I think that's a great pick by Yuki and Jose Q. Jose Quintana is doing great things, and I think he can continue to be that veteran presence on this Mets rotation. So that's a great pick, and he's going with Moniak. I'm not familiar too much with this Angels lineup too much, but he's going with Moniak as being his Mets killer, their center fielder, batting. I think he's a switch hitter, and he's not having a horrible season, but he's not having a great season. Batting around 500, and that's where we'll see a bunch of these guys on this Angels lineup. But I'm gonna go with a Mets killer and a guy that I think is pretty good, and I think might be one of their better players on their team, and that's O'Hoppe. I think that Logan O'Hoppe is a decent ball player. He's just a young, exciting talent, just at 24 years old, batting on the right side of the plate. I think that he'll have the advantage against the two lefties that we have putting out there, that we're putting out there. But O'Hoppe is my Mets killer, and I can tell that you're not happy that I picked your guy.
Oh, you picked my guy, man. I was gonna pick O'Hoppe. I didn't think you would see him there in the lineup, but Plan B. I got to go to Plan B because O'Hoppe, I think right now might be one of their better hitters in that lineup. But I'm gonna go with Ward, another guy that we didn't think we were gonna see. That's my number two pick. Is Ward. Good pick by you with O'Hoppe. But again, guys, we pick these Mets killers, but just to be a thorn, but not to pierce the skin. And so we want these guys. We're picking these guys out of fun, but at the end of the day, we want that Mets W, and we want to keep it rolling. And so, I feel like we can. Like you mentioned before, this Angels team may have thought that they were gonna at least play better baseball in for the rest of the summer with Trout potentially coming back. But when they got the news yesterday that Trout is done for the season, they might come out flat and just be a little bit demoralized because Trout for the fourth, fifth year in a row has not played more than 66 games in a season, and so it's sad to see because he's a talent, but the question is, how much longer does Trout have?
Yeah, it is a tragedy to see such a great player, multiple time MVP, not be able to stay healthy on the field. The best ability is availability, and he's not able to be available for this Angels team. It might work for the advantage of the advantage of the Mets, and hopefully we're able to take advantage of the opportunity of this Angels team that might be a little deflated, but really stinks to see Trout with another season-ending injury.
Yeah, no, for sure, for sure. And we're not going to touch on the minors in this video. Shout out again. We were out in Richmond on Sunday watching Binghamton play the Squirrels, and came out with the victory that day. But excited to see the young talent down there, and hopefully we see those guys soon. I don't know if we're going to see all those guys. Obviously, we're not going to see all those guys, but Clifford is a massive human. He's a big guy. Even from where we were sitting, he was. You could see how big the guy is, and so I'm excited to see his continued development, and after seeing Ramirez, um, firsthand, for the first time, who knows? Maybe he'll have one of those, if he puts on a little weight, like we mentioned on Sunday, maybe he'll tap into a little bit more power, and so I don't know, but we got Beatty playing second base a lot now, and so creating some versatility for him, which at the end of the day will help him, not only with us, but if he is one of those guys that gets traded. So excited to see the system. Excited that Stearns didn't give up. I think the highest prospect was the 22 prospect for the Mets or something like that, and so nobody in the top 20, and so excited to see where this farm system goes, and excited what's going to happen with who stays and who goes. But until then, you know, let's keep winning some baseball games.
Yeah, absolutely. It sucks to see Cade Morris go because we thought he was going to be a great major league pitcher. Um, his ceiling was a Charlie Black or Paul Blackburn. So that's I think that's something that the Mets are going to be okay with sitting with. But great to see those Mets on Sunday. It's great to see the Syracuse Mets break out a little bit as well. And guys like um, uh, who was it that hit a couple of home runs or drove in he had a great game the other day. I can't remember his name now, but Luis Angel is starting to play really good baseball. I think what we're gonna start seeing from a lot of these guys in the AAA level is them starting to try to play for their extended roster spot, because we could see one of these guys called up late in the year once those rosters get extended a little bit. So Brett Beatty being able to be versatile and playing multiple positions is going to be important for him, as long as he continues to show off with the bat. But right now, it looks like Luis Angel is who's really fighting for that spot, especially with his ability to steal bases. And I think that's going to be something that's super beneficial to the Mets come playoff time if we get there. And so love to see the competitive nature of these guys. Love to see our pitchers starting to break out. We got guys like Dom Hamill and starting to pitch a little better now. And so this just creates a lot more depth in our system. Love to see these kids developing well. I say kids, but they're about my age, and I love to see them playing competitive baseball. So um, uh, great things are looking up in Mets land, and things are looking up for quite a while now if we can continue this sustained um, development from of these players.
Yeah, no, for sure, and very exciting stuff. So, guys, we're gonna leave it there. We're gonna get out of here. But before we get out of here, remember, subscribe to the channel, like this video, and leave us your comments on comments. Let us know what you're thinking. How you feeling about the trade deadline? How you feeling about everything that we did? Keeping the all the prospects. Let us know what you think. Let us know in the comments. And before we get out of here, Victor, any last words?
I just have one thing to say, and I don't know how it's going to be received because, listen, we're in the middle of a major league season, but as I'm watching these Olympics, I'm flabbergasted that baseball is not an Olympic sport with how international it is. We got to get baseball in the Olympics. We got to protest to make that happen. If skateboarding can be in the Olympics, why can't baseball be in the Olympics? Even if it's with these minor league guys competing for their country. And so that's my last thing I want to say about this monstrosity. But I love watching our Mets. So let's go Mets.
Let's go, Mets.